Man never loses himself all at once. He leaks in teaspoons, until one day even his reflection refuses to answer when he asks, "Who am I?" He stood in the dim glow of his kitchen at 2:17 a.m., barefoot on cold tile, rereading a text that felt like a blade hidden inside a kiss. "You're overreacting. It's just a guy from my gym." Then the follow-up, "If you trusted me, you wouldn't need to ask." The phone dimmed. So did the room. What hurt wasn't the words, it was the realization that he'd trained her to talk to him like that by swallowing every small cut and calling it love. He remembered the first time she rolled her eyes at his opinion. He laughed it off. The time she canceled their weekend to clear her head. He brought flowers. The time she posted a photo with an inside joke he wasn't part of. He left a heart emoji. A man can delude himself so gently that he thinks he's hydrating her when he's drowning himself. He opened the fridge, not for food but for proof he still had the power to choose something. Milk, eggs, silence. What he actually wanted was the sound of his own boundaries returning like thunder rolling over a desert that forgot rain. He had become a diplomat to his own disrespect, explaining, bargaining, rationalizing. He drafted speeches on forgiveness while his spine forgot the weight of a steel sentence. No, not rage, not theater, just no. A memory knocked. Years ago in a boxing gym, his coach told him after a sparring session gone wrong, "You don't lose the fight when you get hit. You lose it when you keep your hands down and pretend it didn't hurt." He'd been keeping his hands down for months, smiling through jabs, calling it maturity. Maturity isn't tolerating disrespect. Maturity is putting down the welcome mat where the door should be. He stared at the blank wall in front of him and felt something ancient climb out of the man he used to be. Not anger, something older, a treaty with himself. He sent one text, "We'll talk tomorrow, not like this." He put the phone face down, not as a punishment to her, but as a promise to him. The room did not applaud. The sky didn't split. But he felt the floor steady, just a fraction under his foot. The first boundary isn't a line drawn against others. It's a line drawn against the habit of abandoning oneself. He walked to the mirror. He didn't like who stared back, but the eyes were a little less apologetic. Somewhere, a new voice was warming up backstage. Not a lecture, not a threat, something colder and kinder. He rinsed a glass, cleaned the sink, folded a towel. The peace he wanted wasn't going to arrive as a gift. It would be built brick by brick, decision by decision, silence by silence. He turned off the light. He didn't know it yet, but this was the night he began to remember his name. By morning, the world hadn't changed, but his posture had. He sat at the table with pen and paper. Not a journal, a contract. There's a difference. A journal is confession, a contract is architecture. He wrote 5 lines, each one a hinged door that would either keep him or cost him. Line 1, no reward for disrespect. If she mocks, belittles, cuts, or provokes to test, there's no audience, no apology, no access. Boundary without a balcony, no theater, just the door. Line 2, guard the temple of peace. Peace isn't a mood, it's a fortress. The drawbridge is lifted for chaos, no matter how pretty the voice yelling from the water below. Line 3, speak in presence, not in paragraphs. He would show depth by the weight of his actions, not the weight of his disclosures. Mystery is not manipulation. Mystery is earned access. Line 4, zero reactivity. He would feel everything, obey nothing. He would breathe once before answering, twice before arguing. He would not bleed where he eats. Line 5, always be willing to walk away. Attachment cannot negotiate his standards. If it ever costs his soul, he would leave, even if the shards of him begged to stay. He read the list out loud. His hands didn't shake, his voice did. To test the words, he took them into the day. The gym at 6 a.m. felt like a monastery with steel altars. He stretched under fluorescent altars, and when the old thoughts tried to crawl back, replays, what-ifs, maybe it's not that bad, he loaded the bar and let the weight do the talking. Heavy iron is honest. It will never lie to save feelings. By afternoon, she called. He almost answered on the first ring by muscle memory. He waited, he breathed, he let the call finish and texted, "Can talk at 7. If it's calm," he expected fireworks. None came. The power wasn't in her response. It was in the man who made a staircase out of his own restraint. At 7, he answered, I don't do disrespect, he said softly. Not once, not twice. Not ever. If it happens again, I'll step back indefinitely. Don't test me on this. This isn't for you, this is for me. She laughed a little too brightly. You're being dramatic. He smiled where she couldn't see. No, I'm being precise. He didn't argue, he didn't explain. The conversation ended simpler than the story always told him it would. He declined the aftershock apology dinner. Calm is a blade sharper than rage. That night he slept like a man rediscovering the architecture of his own spine. The 5 lines weren't rules for the world. They were rules for his access to himself. He moved like a soldier for 30 days. Not marching against her, but marching for himself. No alcohol, no doom scroll, no late-night bargaining with ghosts. He replaced "what does she think?" with "what did I build today?" He handed his obsession a new tool, habit. When he wanted to text, he sprinted. When he wanted to plead, he planned. When he wanted to post a half-true quote for pity likes, he shut the app and wrote a plan for revenue. Day 4, he cleaned his space like a ritual. Not performative, not aesthetic. Order is a declaration that chaos pays rent here and can't afford the price. A tidy room is less about dust and more about dominion. Day 9, he blocked a number he should have blocked months ago. A friend who only called when he needed help moving, money, or mood repair. Access to him became sacred again. If peace is a city, attention is its currency, and not everyone gets to spend it. Day 13. He took a long walk with nothing in his ears. Silence is the most honest trainer, no playlist to drown the truth, no podcast to outsource wisdom. He listened. The first thing he heard was his hunger, not for her, for purpose. He wrote down 3 projects that scared him slightly. Launch the consulting package he had delayed, run a half marathon before winter, read 5 difficult books instead of 15 easy ones. Day 17. She texted late, a breadcrumb wrapped in nostalgia. "Miss your voice," he smiled. Desire can be polite, standards can't. He replied the next afternoon, "Wishing you peace." No edge, no hook, no invitation. The healing part wasn't what he said to her. It was what he didn't say to himself after. He didn't spin stories or craft romantic hallucinations. He returned to his calendar like a monk returns to prayer. Day 23. He felt loneliness hit like a cold room. He didn't run from it. He sat with it until it stopped scaring him. Loneliness is not an enemy, it's a mirror. He ate a clean meal, did the dishes, showered cold, went to bed early. The next morning his chest felt lighter, not because she called, but because he kept his word to the only person who mattered in that decision, the man in the mirror. Day 30, he checked his bank account. Not rich, but steadier. He checked his calendar. Not full, but intentional. He checked his reflection. Not radiant, but unmistakably present. The 30-day war wasn't against emotion. It was against addiction. To validation, to chaos, to stories that let him avoid the work. Tests don't arrive with a calendar invite. They step out of crowds when your guard is politely down. She reappeared at a cafe he loved, the kind of coincidence life loves to use as a forge. She smiled the way she always smiled when she wanted to soften his edges. "You look good," she said, letting the words rest on the table between them like a rose with a thorn hidden at the stem. For a brief second, old programs booted. Please be okay with everything, perform warmth, give ground, negotiate. He breathed once. He heard his coach's voice in his head, "Protect your hands." He protected his frame. "Thanks," he said, calm as a lake with deep water under it. She began the dance. "I didn't like how you spoke to me that night. Felt controlling." He sipped his coffee. "I said what I won't accept. That's not control, that's clarity." She tried 3 levers. Compliment, guilt, provocation. He didn't flinch. Not because he didn't feel, he felt everything. But feeling isn't a command, it's a weather report. You carry an umbrella, you don't move the city. He set a simple term. If we talk in respect and reality. No tests, no drama. If that's not where you are, that's okay. I'm not available for anything else. He didn't sell it. He didn't ask for it. He placed it like a key on a table that opens one door only. She blinked, confused where the old stage cues had gone. "So that's it," he shook his head gently. "That's the start. If you want the door, earn the key with actions. If not, I wish you well." She left. No meltdown, no scene, no applause. That's the quiet of a man who built a city inside him that strangers can't loot. He paid his bill, tipped well, left without looking back. Passing the test wasn't about getting her to stay. It was about keeping himself in the room when she tried to lead him out of it. Change announces itself not with speeches, but with posture. His coworkers noticed he no longer over-explained ideas in meetings. He presented, paused, accepted pushback without flinching, and adjusted only when the critique was clean and useful. His friends noticed he stopped attending gatherings that ended with hollow nights and heavier mornings. Not a ghost, simply unavailable to noise. Family noticed he didn't take baited arguments dressed as concern. He honored love, ignored manipulation, and built a bridge only from truth to truth. His mornings became a ceremony. Wake before the sun in quiet rebellion against the version of himself that begged for 5 more minutes. Move the body like a vow, read pages that made his mind sweat. Plan the day with ruthless affection for his time. He didn't hide his emotions, he housed them. Emotions visited, brought insight, left. None of them got keys. He met someone new at a bookstore, ironically in the section labeled Design. She asked about the book in his hand. He didn't perform charm. He offered presence. When she probed, he answered with enough to invite curiosity, not enough to hand over the map. He learned to enjoy tension without fearing it. Attraction is not the collapse of distance, it's the artful maintenance of it. He didn't outsource his center to win company. He brought his center with him and watched who could stand near it without trying to rearrange the furniture. One evening, the old flame texted again, "I've been thinking a lot, I'm ready to do this right." He didn't rush. They talked. She apologized specifically, not performatively. He made no speeches about redemption, only agreements. Respect in tone, truth without tests, time honored, phones face down at dinner, no silent treatments. He left the table the first time any of those lines were crossed, not as punishment, as protocol. It happened once. He stood, paid his share, wished her well, and walked. The silence afterward didn't ache. It just echoed. Echoes are proof a space is finally empty and ready to be rebuilt. Detachment is not indifference. It's devotion to the one thing that cannot be negotiated, the mission. His mission wasn't a bumper sticker slogan. It was a living list. Build the body like a vehicle, build the mind like a compass, build the work like a lighthouse, so that when storms come, the light answers before any words do. He wrote a code, not for performance, for alignment. Speak slower than the impulse. Leave the table when respect is not served. Decline what dilutes the mission, no matter how sweet the brand of chaos. Offer presence generously, access selectively. Stay walk away ready from everything, including the version of yourself that longs to be liked. Months later, he stood on a hill at sunrise after a long run, hands on hips, lungs on fire. He thought of every time he'd folded to keep the room warm, rooms that never kept him warm back. He smiled without bitterness. The lesson was expensive. The return was generational. Every decision from here forward would pay interest to the man who didn't sell his name to buy company. He met the new woman again. Slow, real, steady, she brought peace without a price tag. He gave his presence like a gift, not a negotiation. They disagreed without malice, repaired without theater. He shared more in chapters, not dumps. She didn't have to carry him. He carried himself, and that made space for her to be carried by his steadiness without losing her own. One day, his ex sent a final message. "I see it now. I'm sorry." He typed back, "Thank you. I wish you the life that matches your highest actions." Then he deleted the thread, not in anger but in completion. There are doors that used to swing every time someone knocked. Then there are doors that become walls because the house is finally whole. He didn't become louder. He became undeniable, not because he demanded respect, but because he designed a life that made disrespect irrelevant. If presence is gravity, he had become a planet. People didn't orbit because he asked. They orbited because he was.